Hey guys, welcome to Rach Talk, my weekly show where I sit wherever, drink caffeine, and talk about random things. Today, I'm telling you about the interaction I had last night with a group of hot firefighters, the fact that a spirit animal flew into my house today, and I'm giving you a private concert with my new guitar skills. Jack, I'm just putting some cuticle oil on because, I don't get like nail polish anymore, which means that my natural nails have got to look slammin'. So that means a lot of cuticle oil. Also, if you pull this out on the plane, the flight attendant has a panic attack. So you can't put nail polish. You can't put nail polish on the plane. I'm always like, it's oil. But I don't like getting in trouble, so I'm like, you're not even gonna believe what happened. Last night, I have to go pick up my child, my 13-year-old, from baseball. And it's dark. And it's like, I would rather be in bed. So I'm wearing pajamas and slides and no bra, because I am just driving to pick up this child and then driving back. I pull out of my driveway, drive 2 seconds down the road. I live in the country and I live on like a country road and there's not a lot of activity around these parts. And as I'm driving to my right, I see a car like on the side of the road. I'm like, oh, that's a weird spot for a car. My brain's kind of not processing what's happening. And then I get a little bit closer and I realize the car's like in the road. It's an accident. The hood is smoking, there's gas running into the street. I'm like on what appears to be an abandoned country road with a car accident that has clearly just happened. I slow down. A man wanders out of the bushes. And I'm like, are you okay? Do you need help? And he can only speak Spanish. And he's obviously disoriented because he's just been in a car accident. So I'm trying to speak Spanish to him. He's trying to speak English to me. He's got blood everywhere. I'm like, he had his phone and he was like trying to get, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. And so I said, just un momento, like, I'm going to call 911 because like he's clearly hurt. Nobody else is around us. I call 911 and I'm like, I want to make sure this guy's okay, but I'm also a woman by myself. This is a man alone. I don't know what's happening. So I call 911. I'm like talking to them like, we need, fire department, blah, blah, blah. And I see him start to sort of like wander. I'm talking, they're like, is he okay? I'm like, he definitely has blood. He's definitely disoriented. I look up again and he's like half a mile down the road in the dark. I'm like, on the phone with 911, and I'm like, he's gone. He's gone. And they're like, is he under the influence? I'm like, no, I genuinely think he's in shock. And he's like, so now I'm like, do I chase this man into the countryside in the dark? They're like, ma'am, just stay where you are. Stay there. The fire trucks are on the way. I'll tell you what, if you have an issue in a small town in Texas, every neighbor I have never met was like in their car, are you okay? Do you need, I'm like, this is not my accident. And new car would come by hey, are you okay? We live up the street. We heard a commotion. I'm like, I am not involved in this. I'm just now the only one around with this car accident happening. Fire trucks come. Sheriff department comes. They're like, where is I'm like, I do not know. They had to go find him. He had gotten disoriented and wandered off. They did eventually find him. Everything was okay. It was the weirdest experience. I'm like on a country road alone. All of this is happening. The man is okay. The car is okay. My neighbor's fence, not okay. Here's what you need to know. If you are a single woman in this area, you need to find a reason to call the fire department.
OMW, on my way to you. Good at what I do. I'm OMW.
I am happily in love. Happily. But when I tell you that a boy band wearing fireman ensembles rolled out of this fire truck, all like, how can we be helpful? How can we be strong? How can we wear suspenders? What? I did not tell my boyfriend that this morning, because he's gone for work, and I called him and I was like, telling him this crazy stuff. I did not tell him the fire department part. That was one fire truck. There was a second fire truck that came a minute later.
Can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
There were another whole crew. Do you need help? Do you need medical assistance? I was like, do I? I don't know. What is it about firemen and women? I mean, if you're a firewoman, you're probably hot too. What is it about the uniforms? Why is it different than the police department or the military? Like, if you were, I was telling my kids, my two oldest were like, what's going on? I was like telling them the story. And I told them, I was like, I'm going to be honest. Here's a life lesson you don't know, but you will know. If you are a fire person, you're hot. Out of your uniform, I don't know. But in your uniform, you know how like they load up in the fire truck and then they all go to the grocery store to buy like ingredients for chili or whatever you guys do? Why are you so hot? And then I was all of this commotion. I'm like trying to be a superhero. I'm trying to make sure everyone's okay. And then I realized this whole time, your girl has been in a t-shirt. Like I'm wearing a Nirvana t-shirt. I never get hit on more in life ever than when I'm wearing that Nirvana shirt. No bra. And I was like, it was all a clever ruse, apparently. Wow. The man is okay. The car is not okay. The fence is not okay. I don't mean to make light of a car accident, but I do want you to know that if you are single, put your cat up a tree. That's not a euphemism. Maybe it is. Okay, that was one thing. That was last night. This morning, you guys, I'm doing my meditation and I'm you know what? We visualize our future. If you're not familiar with this, you're going to go listen to episode 72 of the podcast. There's a whole thing where it's like, you got to know where you're going. You got to be like very specific with the universe, with yourself, with your goals. Like, this is where I'm headed. So I'm doing my meditation this morning, manifesting the future that I want. And I just got back from Nashville where I did another round of songwriting, which like we're going to show you the coolest stuff about what I've been working on. But I've had so many people lately ask me like, why are you writing songs? What's the goal? Everyone's like, what's the goal? What are we working towards? What's the project? What's the goal? And for a minute, I got thrown off because so many people were like asking me what the goal was that I felt like I should have one. And then I remembered that I'm 39 years old, that I am a mother of 4, that at this point in life, most of us don't try and sort of try new things or learn new hobbies or learn new skills, and I am. And so the goal with songwriting is just, I'm challenging myself in a new way. I'm writing in a new medium. I am having so much fun. I am meeting the coolest people, and I get to see I'm learning a new way to storytell, and it's really rad. And so anyway, I was meditating because I was like, well, all these people are asking me what the goal is, and like maybe I should have one, like something besides joy. I was like feeling really one with the universe, Jack. I was like really connected, really aligned. I, open my eyes, done my meditation, I'm ready. And all of a sudden I hear like a flutter of wings. And I'm like, oh God, please don't let a bird fly in. Why? Because there's so much glass and the birds get confused. The birds are already slamming into these windows without the door open. So if one gets in, I'm here by myself. It's like Apollo 13. There's no hope.
Houston, we have a problem.
That's one of the funnier things I've ever said. It turned out okay, though. I think Apollo 13 is the one with Tom Hanks, and they figure out a way to survive. It's Tom Hanks and Bill Pullman, and they live. I think. That's not the point. The point is, I'm like, please don't let a bird fly in. I look over. Bird. Bird is the word. Bird is sitting on a chair on my dining room table. And I'm like, no. So I'm like, okay, all I got to do is angle myself, come over here. I mean, Jack, maybe you could draw this like a football play. Like, I'm here, bird's there. If I could just get myself over here, then the bird will fly back out the door. I get myself over here, the bird panics, slams into that window, slams into that door, slams into that window, ends up in the den. The den is in the back of the house. The den is where my office is. I'm like, I don't have a way to open doors and windows to get that bird out of the den. That poor, precious bird slamming into the window in the den, right? And I'm like, ah! So what do? I call the bird whisperer. I call the person who's got all these birds coming into my house. I interrupt him in a very important meeting in New York, pull him out of it. I said, this is an emergency. I don't know how to fix this myself. We've got an issue. He's like, okay, calm down. Show me what kind of bird it is. And I'm like, all right. I FaceTime, show Boo, here's the bird. He's like, all right, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna close all the other doors in the house. You're gonna, with it. So I follow his instructions. I'm gagging the whole time because every time that bird slams into the window again, I think this bird's death is about to be on my shoulders. And you'll recall, I've already had the traumatic experience this month with the bird dying in the window. You can cut to that, Jack. It was like the worst. Through a series of hand gestures, leading, doors closed, all the doors to outside, I finally get this bird to go outside. Here's what's crazy. I know what kind of bird it is because I love this bird, one of my favorite birds. It's a wren. They're really cute. I love that bird because my initials growing up were R-E-N, wren. I sometimes thought I'd have like a cool alter ego. She'd be like, I don't know, a hippie and rad and whatever, and her name would be Ren. That's not the point. The point is, it was such a weird experience, and it happened right at the tail end of this manifestation moment that I was like, I'm going to look up what the spiritual significance is of a wren. Hold on to your hat, Jack. Hold on to it. Get ready. If you have weird animal interactions and you don't look up what the spiritual significance is of that animal, you are missing out. The spiritual significance of a wren. The wren is a small bird, widely considered a harbinger of spring and rebirth. It is also a symbol of the arts because of its association with poets, songwriters, musicians, and anyone who writes or crafts written work. The universe? I just said the universe. I got so excited. The universe is freaking wild. Wild. I don't know. Energetically, vibrationally, I was putting off such high energy about the writing that I'm doing that this wren was sucked into my orbit. And I had to guide it back out. That's what was happening. Speaking of music, my 15-year-old and I had a conversation about music last night, and it was wild. Number one, I grew up, I said, Jackson, I need you to understand that when I was little, the internet didn't exist. And his brain
does not compute,
couldn't process that. I said, when you got a computer, because I also didn't grow up in a world where everybody had computers. I said, when your family saved up for 3 years and got a Commodore 64.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore's keeping up with you.
That you put on the dining room table and then everybody got to try out. That computer could only do what was inside of that box. There was no connect to something else. So I'm trying to explain this to him because I'm trying to explain to him that once upon a time, if you wanted to listen to music, you went to a store that sold CDs. Yes, there were record stores. He knew that. But I'm like, Jackson, there's, you're going to run down to Sam Goody.
Raise the roof, huh? A cheeseburger, please.
Hey, Slick. Sam Goody sells music.
Okay? And there's a store that just has CDs. And he was like, what? Think about this. That thing, a CD player or a CD to a 15-year-old boy or girl, it's something that came into being and already was wiped out before they ever. And I'm like, you went and bought a CD and it was $20, maybe. And you did it because you liked one song. Yeah, occasionally there would be a single that you could, but you went for one song, and then you were bought in. You were listening to the whole album. I was trying to explain all this to him because I was trying to explain to him what Napster was.
1.5 million songs, unlimited access. Own nothing, have everything. Join us, Napster.
Because I'm like, oh, it was the first time that somebody basically just put all the songs, and they were like crappy quality, whatever, but you could go in and like burn a CD off Napster and like the whole thing. And so halfway through the discussion, I just started taping myself because I was like, this is the wildest explanation. And also like for sure embellishing and for sure telling lies. Because I told him that there was a little girl who got prosecuted for using Napster because they were trying to like prove a point. And that I said that she got like 100 years to life in prison. And he was like, you are absolutely lying. And he Googled it, and she had a $2,000 fine, which is very different than 100 years to life. So Napster put all the music on a website, and then you could go, if you knew how to use the internet, which like 3 people did. One kid in my grade named Nathaniel Victor, who knew how to use a computer and the internet, and he would charge you $20 for 20 songs. It was genius. It became really popular. Kids all over the country getting on Napster, making CDs. And it was such a crazy like pirating thing for years. The music industry was like, kids, we will destroy you if you keep using Napster. And then eventually Napster went away. Oh, would you like a little update on my guitar playing skills? So the guitar that I played for you last time, somebody gave me as a gift. They had it, and they have a lot of guitars, so they gave me that guitar. But I felt like it was important to buy my own guitar, so I went shopping, and I'm obsessed with this. It's a Taylor guitar, and it's called a something mini, so you can tell it's like a little bit smaller, and I love it. So they're all different, but I love it because it's got this like, the wood has that cool, and look, I mean, Jack, isn't this gorge? Okay. Oh, shiza, sorry. I'm not saying it's good, but it's something. Okay, I'm gonna play a song using my app. But it's not like you'll hear. It's not like playing a real song, but it is an improvement over the E chord, Jack. I think that's E minor. This is cheesy, but I don't care. Because I couldn't do this when I first tried to show you guys. Why can I be graceful ever? Stop laughing at me. Jerk, we're starting again. We got it, guys. We got it. Thank you. You get the point. I can play tab, and that's interesting, and that's better than it was, guys. We're mere moments away from something really magical happening, but maybe nothing. I'm real bad at the chords. Fellow guitar players. Number one, I am getting calluses on my fingers, so that's fun. But chords are so freaking hard. I still suck in a lot of ways, but I think that one of the things I'm best at is being willing to suck for as long as it takes me to become better. And like I said, I'm really just enjoying the process of getting to learn about how music is made. Along that journey, I had the most incredible opportunity to interview one of the most well-known songwriters in Nashville. So his name's Tom Douglas, and he is amazing, amazing, amazing. He's written a million songs that I love. He wrote a song called "The House That Built Me" by Miranda Lambert, which is was considered Song of the Decade by the CMAs and like just all sorts of stuff. He's awesome. And Jack and I went out to his place and got to sit with him and just hear about the creative process. How do you write songs? How do you do this? And he has an incredible story in that he didn't actually become successful as a songwriter until he was like 40 or something. Just a really cool story of someone who chased a dream later in life and made it in the highest possible echelons of the field. So I would love, if you haven't checked it out already, the interview is here on YouTube. You can find it on the podcast as well. But I want to share just a few minutes of that conversation because I know you guys are going to dig it as much as I did. So here is a little bit of my interview with Tom Douglas. I love your story so much. And from the outside looking in, I never would have understood the journey that you took to get here had I not watched the movie.
Yeah.
So could you tell the story of how did you get to this point?
Well, it's a circuitous route, as you can imagine. I grew up in a household that was very, creative in a way, even though my father was with a steel salesman. He was really an artist at heart. My mother was an interior decorator, just had an amazing eye for design. So we grew up with artistic things and love of beauty in the household. And of course, the way you grow up, you assume that that's the way everybody else grew up. But it didn't. It was a very artistic household looking back. But my parents were both children of the Depression. My father was born in 1911 and my mother was born in 1917. So they were formed by that, job security and education. Those were really the preeminent pillars upon which my family was built. You go to school and you go as far as you can go, and then you get a job and you do it for 45 years. So my parents sacrificed for me to go to a private high school, and then I went to college and graduate school, and then I got a job in real estate. And I really tried to do that because even though I had this parallel life of songs and music, and I just fell deeply in love with songs, really because my father loved songs and music. But there was no possible way that I was going to pursue it as a vocation because I couldn't do that to my parents. But, the soundtrack followed me everywhere I went, and I really tried to focus on real estate and fitting in with a blue suit and a red tie and a black Suburban and a cell phone. I really tried to do that, but I just finally couldn't do it. The songs finally chased me down, and at 27, I ran away from home for the first time, and I moved to Nashville, and I was here 4 years on the outside looking in, got nothing going. My father got ill, and I had to care for him at the same time, so I reinvented myself as a real estate broker and moved west to Dallas. Met my wife here in Nashville, and we got married about 6 months later. And I really just tried to start over again back in real estate with the blue suit, the red tie, and the black Suburban. And, I did have a spiritual epiphany about, I guess, 8 or 9 years into it, where I was so disappointed with my life at the age 39, even though from the outside you would think he's got a nice life.
Yeah.
But that deep soul ache of not doing what I thought I was created to do was really killing me. And so at 39, I just screamed out, God, why am I jaded, cynical, and disappointed with my life? And God said, you've been worshiping the creation, not me, the creator. How's that working out? And it was a moment where I realized that this is what it's like to worship an idol. Somehow I had taken something that was good, which is music and songs, and turned it into an idol. And it ultimately was destroying me.
Yeah. There's a great speech, if you've never seen it. Jim Carrey is giving a commencement address. Have you seen this, where he talks about his dad?
Say it again. Tell me.
Yeah.
Again.
So
Yes.
the idea is he's Jim Carrey, it's the height of his career, and he's telling the story about his father, who I think was a saxophone player. He's like, my dad was one of the most talented musicians. You know, I got so much of my talent from my dad, but he was terrified. He was terrified to pursue this life in music. And so he took a job as an accountant or something along those lines. And when he was in his mid-40s, he got laid off. Company closed down a division. He gets laid off, and he never really gets a job again. And he says, so you can fail doing something you hate.
Yeah.
So you may as well try and fail doing something you love.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a really great speech. You can find it on YouTube.
I have seen it. I forgot that. That's really powerful.
Yeah. So you cry out. You
Yeah.
sort of have this moment. What do you decide to do with that information?
Well, and then I really wanted to find reclaim the gift of music, just the creative gift. I just wanted to find it again. And I think once I kind of realized that, my eyes were down here instead of up there, it was like a weight fell off me. It was like, okay, God is in control. This is not random. And I just want to regain the gift of creativity again. And I said, I just want to enjoy it. I don't care about Nashville. I don't care about anything. I just want to find that love again. And it was, it was a pure moment. Moments like that don't really last. Then I went quickly back to the idol worshiper of success and validation and everything else that the culture throws at you. But I did reclaim it and slowly started just kind of unthawing and writing songs again.
Yeah. And when did you guys get back out here to Nashville?
Well, and then about a year later, I sat down early one Saturday morning and I wrote a song. I just sat down and I wrote a song that by myself that I loved, and it was called Little Rock. And
Tom, it is honestly one I could cry. and I did when I watched the movie for the first time, understanding the backstory, hearing the details about your dad, and then getting to that. I honestly, when you sit down at the piano and I haven't had a drink in 19 days. Like, I remember that. I remember calling Ray. I remember being a little girl and that's on the radio in my grandpa's truck. Like, I think that's what is so striking about your work is for those of us who grew up and are of a certain age and listen to country music, it's the soundtrack of our life.
Yeah.
And it's the soundtrack of your life.
Well, I mean, I didn't realize until probably 2 years ago that Little Rock was about my father.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty crazy.
Wow. How beautiful.
Yeah, it's biographical. It's emotional to even think about.
Yeah.
It's strange after all that time.
Yeah.
But those are pure moments that you wish you could have more of them, where you kind of break through the scar tissue and somehow you get down to the purity of, love and loss and, pain and beauty.
And so you by yourself write this song and you hadn't had success as a songwriter
No.
yet.
I mean, I had forsaken it. I hated Nashville. I was never coming back. Nashville was a mistress. She'll carve your heart out from the back with a butter knife. That's what Nashville is.
Yeah. And what did you do? Did you know you had a hit?
No. Gosh, I didn't. But at that moment, something occurred to me. And I don't think you just wake up one day and think this. I think God just gives you occasional pearls of wisdom. I decided, I'm going to create stuff and I'm just going to share it with anybody and everybody. And I've kind of been true to that since that moment. So I wrote Little Rock and I made a demo of it, and it was a piano vocal. It was like literally 5 minutes long. And I just started sending it and giving it to anybody and everybody. And I still had a few contacts in Nashville, and I would send the song to them and said, look, I'll give you the publishing on this. You can have the song if you'll just pitch it, if you'll just give me some encouragement. And nobody responded, but I reconnected with Paul Worley, who's like my guardian angel. And I had known him 10 years before as a guitar player in Nashville. And by this time, he was an executive at Sony Publishing. I gave Paul a cassette of Little Rock after 4 glasses of red wine at a cocktail party at a songwriting seminar in Austin.
Nice.
And I gave him a cassette. And miraculously, he listened and he said, I think I can get one of these songs cut. And he ran with it. And well, he signed me to Sony Publishing in 1993. And he got Little Rock recorded. And I've been with Sony since 1993.
And how old were you at that point?
At that point, I was 41.
I love that because I feel like so many people think that the dream has a deadline.
Yeah, you're right.
And you don't hear a lot of stories of someone in their 40s getting the first big break.
Right.
Okay, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me and listening to the random stories. If you are still here, if you are still paying attention, I feel like you gotta like it a little bit. Will you give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on an episode? If you're listening on podcast, same request, subscribe so you get a notification whenever we post something new. I will be back next week, and until then, remember, I love you guys, and I'm rooting for you.